This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, everyone. We continue in Mishna Berura Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Yud Zayin. We're in the middle of Seif Beis. The Mechaber said that women, avadim, are pater because it's from Tzitzis, because it's man grama. By the way, that's not Parsha that Tzitzis is man grama, because we're going to see it's machlokes rishonim. Is it that you're pater during the night, or is it that a night garment is pater from Tzitzis? According to the rishonim that learn that a night garment is pater from Tzitzis, then it's not Parsha that Tzitzis is man grama. It's not zman grama. Certain begadim are chayiv, certain are not. What kind of begadim? Those that are worn during the night, but that doesn't necessarily make it zman grama. But at face value, we're assuming it's zman grama. Women are pater, and if they want to make a bracha on it, they can, like other mitzvahs asay shazman grama. However, it looks like yuhara. Therefore, women should not wear tzitzis. And the Rama added, they should not wear tzitzis, because it's not obligatory on the person. What does that mean? Perush, you're not obligated to purchase talis in order to be chayiv in tzitzis. Ulakaman b'siman yotes amar kisheyesh leitalis me arba kanfos. Later on in Siman Yotes, it's explained that when you have a talis of daled kanfos, then you have to put it on. In other words, the Rama, according to the Mishna Berura, is explaining why do women make a bracha on a lulav, which is also zman grama. The answer is lulav is chayvas gavra. But when it comes to tzitzis is not a chayvas gavra. A man does not have a biblical obligation to buy dalet kanfos. It's just if he does, he has to put on tzitzis. But lulav, whereby the man is chayvas gavra, so therefore women should say a bracha. In other words, the Rama says if they want to make a bracha, they can, but since it looks like gaiva, they should not wear tzitzis. Fine. We saw something very unbelievable that's worthwhile mentioning. Namely, why could women say vitzivanu? So Shlomo Zalman says that technically they could say vitzivanu. Number one, provided that they put tzitzis on their dress. In other words, they can't take a beged of dalet kanfos like a man and wear it as tzitzis because that's big dayish. But if they want to put tzitzis on their blouse, that would be okay. Now, another thing we pointed out from the Bir Halach and some Kuftzadi le'inyan tikiyah shofar, that since there is no remez in the Torah that women are mitzuvah in shofar, they're better off not making the bracha. In other words, they're allowed to make vitzivanu, but they're better off somebody else saying it. Which means, according to that Bir Halacha, that when women take somehow if women take daled minim, which many women do, it would be better if they get a man to be moitzi them in the bracha. What about a guy? Rav Shlomo Zalman says a guy who wears tzitzis gets schar. A guy who takes daled minim gets schar, but they cannot say vitzivanu. A woman who's b'klal Yisrael, they could say vitzivanu because men are chayiv. A guy, they get schar for doing the mitzvah. Now, by the way, which we pointed out, that's a jolting thought. So just when you think about, how much schar? A woman says, I want to do the mitzvah because I get schar. A guy also gets schar. I mean, you have to know what the scale here is. You know, when we say that women are pater from mitzvahs, we're not dealing with tremendous schar over here. That if they do the mitzvah, they get great schar. Women run to shofar. Okay, they accept it upon themselves. But goyim could also come hear shofar. If a guy hears shofar, they get a mitzvah. They're going to get reward in olam haba. You know that guy comes to shul, he hears a shofar, he gets a reward. It's just women also. But so we're not dealing with major schar. It's gadol mitzvah. Fine. Now, let's continue in the Mechaber. Tumtum androgynous chayav misafek. Someone who his gender is covered up, or someone who's a suffix, is chayav misafek, and since it's v'yisatvu b'lei bracha, they do ituf without a bracha. That's also a pella. Why shouldn't they make a bracha? A woman who's vadai potter could make a bracha, the Rama says. So why shouldn't a tumtum and androgynous make a bracha? Says the Rama, perish tumtum loy noidem l'zachar nekeva. Tumtum, we don't know if it's male or female. Androgynous yesh zachas v'nakvas. Androgynous has both simanim. V'ma shenagu noshim v'ah. V'ma shenagu noshim v'archu. Mitzvah says shazman grama gam him yivarchu. In other words, that's the shita of the mechaber, that women don't make a bracha, but our shita is women do make a bracha, so they could make a bracha. Let's see the Mishna Berura. Chayav misafek. The safek Torah l'chumra. A safek daraisa is a chumra ken kasa beis Yosef. Umash mizeh. This implies the davar shechiyuva rak midrabanan, something which zechiv is only midrabanan, could go in talis. For example, a talis. She'ula achar shloshim yom v'chanal b'simin yodalid. This implies something that the chiyuv is only midrabanan. Let's say a talis that's borrowed after 30 days. Oy beged shechiyuv arak mitam safek. Could go in beged shechetzio b'sov v'chetzio sasim v'chanal b'simin yod siv zayin rashon leilach by beloy tzitzis. Meaning, why are we mechayiv tumtum androgynous because safek daraisa l'chumra? So they have to put tzitzis on their garment. That implies a beged of daled kanfos that is only chayv midrabanan. You don't have to. Look at the Pri Megadim who writes similar to this. It could be you should be machmer al maras ayin v'chadiisa sham b'sif ches. I don't know if that's pashad. Yes, we say safek d'Rabbanan l'kula. But here, just put on the tzitzis. What's the big deal? In other words, by other inyanim, there might be ramifications the other way. Maybe you shouldn't make a bracha. Maybe you shouldn't. But somebody who has a beged, it's chayiv midrabana misafek. So that you could. So don't put it on. That's what I would say. Don't put on the beged. Take off the beged. Why? In other words, why should you put on a beged that might be chayiv midrabana and tzitzis? Don't take on. So you say that's the guy's shirt. So maybe in Chanami, the guy has no clothing. This is his only clothing. So he doesn't. So he's allowed to wear it without tzitzis. Okay, says the Mishna Berura b'loi bracha. Kiven the ikar achiv urak misham sveika. Since the ikar achiv is only out safek le'inyan bracha shu midrabanan azlina balakula. Regarding the bracha, which only midrabanan we go l'kula v'ayin l'kaman b'sim samach zayin b'Mishna Berura ma shenichtav sham mertz Hashem kama klalim b'shem hapoiskim b'zeh zachros v'nakvos v'ugam kein safek zachar oy nekeva. He's also safek male or female. V'ayin b'artz asachayim shevi rayim mikam mekonim askin ken la'alacha do together safek. The Malbim brings many proofs that a androgynous is considered a safek v'loy command amrdu bari b'fnei atzma, not like the opinion that he's an entity unto himself. Siv Gimel, Katan hayodea lisatef aviv tzarch likach lo tzitzis l'chanchai. A katan who knows how to wrap himself, the father is obligated to buy him tzitzis to train him. Now this is soiser everything we've learned in Hilchos Tzitzis until now, because we've just been saying there's no chayvas gavra to put on a four-cornered garment and put tzitzis on it. It's only a chayvas. That if it's only a chiyuv, that if you happen to be wearing a four-cornered garment, you have to put tzitzis. And now we're saying, not only for yourself do you have to go out of your way, implied in this is you have to go out of your way to wear a four-cornered garment, but you got to train your kid to get a four-cornered garment and put strings on it. That's only if he knows how to wrap two in front of him, two behind him. He knows how to hold the tzitzis in his hand at the time of Shema. Says Mishna Berura Perish, Likach loy dat beged shel dal kanfos will have to buy tzitzis, to take a beged of four corners and to put tzitzis kedei lechanchai b'mitzvahs. V'shir talisai, how big should his tzitzis be? Because Pri Megadim b'sim tezayin v'der chachayim shehu kedei l'satef by Rosh Berubai shaloi. It doesn't have to be of a 9-year-old that we said earlier, but rather his own. And if he's smaller, then so be it. However big or small he is, then the father has to put tzitzis on it and make a bracha with him. If it doesn't have the shir for him, you don't make a bracha. Says the Shevet HaLevi, what if the kid is not reached the age of chinuch, but he is, let's say, of age to make a bracha, and he has Uncle Moshe Tzitzis, which is enough to cover the size of a newborn, of an embryo at maybe 40 days. You know, they're tiny, those things. They're like blindfolds that they give you on the airplane. So then you could put it on the kid and he can make a bracha. Okay, so he's at the age of brachos, but not at the age of tzitzis. L'chanchai. This is if he hasn't reached 13. From 13 on, he's chayv and tzitzis like a gadol. Mashakasav b'drashas ma'aril b'ilchos nesuin shenoagim shegam na'orim gedolim in mis'adfim b'tzitzis ad shenoizim lanoshim. The Ma'aril brings that boys who are over 13, they don't wrap themselves in tzitzis until they get married. V'samchu lohen akra d'chsev gedilim taselecha v'samach le'ki kachish isha. That's a davar tamua. Da'ad shelo yisa isha yia yoshiv v'bato mitzvah tzitzis. What? Someone's not going to wear tzitzis until he gets married? It's a nice drasha, but you don't learn out halachas from drashas. So it's mashma that the Mishna Berura grips the Ma'aril that they did not wear a talis katan before they got married, and therefore he's matmiya. How are they bato from tzitzis? Even though, by the way, the Ma'aril is not necessarily mashma that way. Ma'aril, all the Ma'aril means is you don't wear a talis gadol until you get married. That's what the Ma'aril says, that they were not misatef in the talis till they got married. And the question is, so why is the Mishna Berura gripping the Ma'aril, that the Ma'aril is saying they didn't even wear a talis katan, and he's asking, how could they not wear a talis katan until they got married? He should have realized that what the Ma'aril means is that they didn't wear a talis gadol until they got married. So there's a tshuva in the Tzitz Eliezer, Chelek Chaf, Siman Ches, quoted by Dirshu, that the Mishna Berura gripped the Ma'aril this way, is that if the Ma'aril is saying this smichus, and we're darshaning it from a pasuk, then the Mishna Berura gripped it at face value, that you don't wear tzitzis until you get married. Now, I'm not sure that the Ma'aril meant that. Probably the Ma'aril is just finding an allusion in the pasuk that the inyan of talis gadol does not begin until one gets married. Okay, we'll hold it over here.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.